I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch.
All right, guys, we got one more song, unfortunately. Silver Tongue, Light Bearer, Silver Tongue is the name of this song. So let's jump into it right now, guys. That beat is crazy. This beat is crazy.
Motes of dust effervesce, threads unbridled coalesce, with future's foresight choose their tethers, embracing hands-on proscenium faces. Reading tells in causality, in my hands alone. Only one can unravel. They tie off knots in my ether. I, the prophet, sagacious child, motherless and fatherless, my soul alone do I trust. Foretold apocrypha, seeds of change grow within, planted deep is final sin.
minute left. Minute left.
Minute left.
Yeah, it says right there. There's a minute left. Hold on, guys. The minute remaining. I just want to see if we're gonna miss anything.
Oh,
see?
You're right. Bump it back.
I should have never listened to you.
No, there's no reason.
I bet you didn't know there was a hidden track, huh? This is sort of part 3. There's going to be a third record before they broke up. So this record was about...
What's it saying? Rise up? What's he saying? The hell? What was he saying? Rise up? You guys, comment section. What was he saying?
There was supposed to be a third record
Yeah, I'll tell you
before
what.
they blew up.
I mean,
and I'm assuming
this is pretty weird, right?
The third record would be like the Antichrist, right?
Yeah,
so the first one was a devil, and the second record was really focused on Eve or Lilith or whatever, and then the third, I think, would have been focused on the child that came about.
Yeah, but listen,
because there's at the end of this song is focused on the child and all. Well, we'll get into the lyrics soon, but then there's also this thing at the end. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Did you see how this ended?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That part was really interesting. We're going to spend a lot of time on that. I just want to read this part.
Go ahead.
Time is not linear. This is merely our perspective of it. The plethora of universes, many worlds, many shades of existence, species both human and non-human, at all moments and at all instances rejoiced. Every cell, every molecule sang out in jubilation. For the darkest heart was cowed into uncertainty. Lucifer's plea had been heard beyond the confines of Earth, beyond the ever-puissant shrouds of reality, amidst worlds of entities we may not comprehend. The whispers of free will reverberated, and at once, at all times, he was heard. Our perspective saw the tribes of Australopithecus is leaving the comforts of known climes and traveling north to unknown to find something in the cold spaces unmapped. Okay, so again, like this is a theistic evolutionary stuff. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very interesting. There was something to find, something to explore. And as new vistas appeared before them, neurological pathways were born, new strands of awareness. Where did the awareness come from? That awareness, a weapon against the darkness that fed from us, always teasing us, always willing us to bow for him, to give in to him. In the lowest hours, many would still seek his dank and insipid rapture. But as the calendar stones grew new glyphs, as water flowed through gullies and eroded the limestone strata, we saw our triumph, and beyond the vibrant excitement, the gray numbness that it was far from over, as Eve and her kin moved onwards, already her lineage carried the greatest burden. It was now indelible, a mark of importance to bear the torch given to her by unseen hands that would guide and coax the best from us. Radiating scintilla, particles of sentience, willing and hoping and dancing among those thinking corporeal bodies. That lineage would one day culminate with a child, the final mind to hold the torch, the fruit of autonomy. A mind that would galvanize all sentience against a false god, the all-father, the monarch, the authority. They would establish free will as an absolute, to deny the cruelty of oppression. This was no longer prophecy. This was permeated with tides already in motion. A culmination many millennia from that moment, yet certainty was ours. And in that moment, the first mind found certainty to establish another politic, to propagate his own rapture among the populace of existence. Okay, so that's the end of the last track and the end of the record. So go ahead. What was the big thing for you?
Well, I mean, that was the end of the song, but the whole thing was just, again, journey-ish, and I gotta make a bottle for the baby. Maybe you want to just
Can't we call one of the kids?
Well, they can't go in our room right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in English, please.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I felt, babe. it was kind of long, that thing you just read, and my mind just couldn't focus. I'm gonna need an interpretation.
Okay, I will prophesy and give the interpretation. So, this is probably the best concept. I can't say it's the best concept record we've reviewed because what's that? Lateralis is kind of a concept record. No, I don't think. No, I'll say this is Lateralis is something else. I haven't been able to classify it yet, but it's not a concept record. Although I could see why a person would say that, but I have a different idea about it. Okay, so this is probably the best concept record I've ever heard. Start to finish. One of the challenges of a concept record is that like you keep running into repetition. Mm-hmm. Because you're trying to keep the same story at the same characters at the same time you're trying to build something. In every chapter you should find, that was one of the rules that my teacher gave me, was that when you're writing a story and you're making characters, I need to find something out about the character in the next chapter that I didn't know before. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're consistently doing that, then that works with the story arc and all the rest of it. They did a really good job. I'm going to try to exegete this passage here because it's amazing stuff. The band planned 4 albums. So that third one was going to be the one about the Antichrist, I'm sure, or whatever this child was supposed to be. And you guys noticed, right, where I talked about Eve, and Eve was going to have a seed, and her seed was going to undo the works of the devil. On their side, they also feature a woman. She also has a child, and I'm assuming that child is going to be, it's like they said, the child is like the sum total of autonomy. So I think, and these guys are politically, they are anarchists, these guys.
Okay.
So, and then DOSC has some good intel on this too, because there's the the Golden Compass, that story with the bear and all that?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be like a satanic answer to the Chronicles of Narnia. So.
Really?
Yeah.
I liked it. People didn't like it.
Well, they didn't like it because it was obviously it was pretty clear the authority was God and yada yada yada. So it was like an inversion of Narnia.
Yeah.
If you're on a team, I'm going to say something that's provocative. If you're on a team that constantly has to invert stuff and can't come up with anything original, that's not the team for me. I'm not saying that I would join the other team. I just wouldn't be joining the team that relies on my enemy for material.
Right.
They don't come up with anything original. They're always just doing.
Yeah, it's the great value brand.
Yeah, it's always a great value brand of what God has. That's probably like the end of all of it, right? The establishment of the church and the eventual culmination of the war against the patriarchal God. Yeah, I mean, people's definition of freedom is really interesting to me. Really, really interesting. So, like right here, that lineage would one day culminate with a child, the final mind to hold the torch, the fruit of autonomy, a mind that would galvanize all sentience against the false God, the All-Father, the monarch, the authority. They would establish free will as an absolute to deny the cruelty of oppression. So basically what they're saying is, because God issues laws that limit what we can do with our will, he's bad and that's oppressive. So this child, who is the culmination of human autonomy, because these guys are worshipers of human autonomy. It's very much like the whole point of the Matrix. Neo was actually an Antichrist figure. He wasn't a Christ figure. Mm-hmm. I had a friend that was in church, and he was obsessed with trying to say that Neo was Jesus. And I said, no, Neo's the Antichrist. And he's like, what? He was like genuinely, like legit offended.
Do I know this person?
Nah.
Oh.
Nah. And I said, big bro, who was being portrayed in the second movie when he goes up there and the dude with all the TVs, the guy that programmed the Matrix, who do you think that was supposed to be? Obviously, that was supposed to be the God character. He's old, he's sagacious, he's got this giant vocabulary, he talks really quickly, he's got all these TVs. He's
kind of omniscient because he has all the TVs.
That look at all the counterfactuals, which is it's an expression of his omniscience and whatever. And then he's in all white, and then you have Neo in all black, and you're cheering for Neo, but Neo is saying he's going to find some way to outdo the architect of the entire Matrix. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that clearly was the hinge of the entire series, where they revealed no, Neo is actually the Antichrist. And I mean, you could have figured it out because their home base is called Babylon or some shit like that, where they then engage in a Babylonian orgy. You know what I'm saying?
I forgot about that part. That's right.
Okay, so at the end of the third Matrix, this is why the Matrix is going to be pertinent to this discussion. At the end of the third Matrix, Neo is fighting all Agent Smith, and they're going back and forth, blah, 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 blah. And then Agent Smith is like, why are you doing this? And they're fighting for like 20 minutes. The Wachowskis, they spent like, I don't know, like $80 million on like 20 minutes of this fight. They get like obsessed with the technology. And so they're fighting, blah, blah, blah. And then the big culmination. I don't know if anybody remembers the big culmination of what Neo's answer to Agent Smith was.
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No, what was it?
Oh, man. I remember when I saw that for the first time, and I was like, oh, boy, here we go. Keep talking, because I want to...
You're going to pull it up?
I want to show everybody, because I want to see if anybody can get... no, I'm not going to say that. Go ahead.
I don't remember. I don't remember it at all.
Talk to the people.
Yeah,
Give the people
am,
your
babe.
thing.
I mean, what? No, I don't want to say to mine until I get to the end. Because it's at the end, and I don't want to...
You're going to have to do something, right? Because I can't...
Yeah, I mean...
Say something to the
Babe,
people.
Stop it! What hand call? I don't know what that means. This is always so... Exactly. But you know what? Like, people are talking about stuff that I don't even know. Okay, here's one. Lightbearer had a predecessor, Fall of Ephrafa, where they took Watership Down. The Rabbit Book movie also criticized religion and authority in 3 albums. Same lyrical style. Oh, yeah, the other city was Zion. Yeah, but weren't they in a ship called Babylon or something?
Yeah, the Nebuchadnezzar, my bad. The city was called Zion, but it was an underground city, and the name of their ship was the Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was the king of the Babylon. You're right. It was called Zion, but the Zion was underground, and it was a big giant orgy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it just,
Hi, Fred.
It just seemed like an inversion of, you know, the ideal. And then when you see the architect, I'm like, okay, the architect is God. So I'm starting to see what this is, what they're trying to say. Okay, now watch. Here's the giant battle between Smith and Neo, right? And so
this will get the whole thing blocked.
There's this giant fight. Oh yeah, we could get the whole thing blocked. It's possible. I doubt we will though. All right, let me see here. There he goes. Poor old Neil's on the ground. Can anybody hear? Can you hear?
Yeah.
You can? How come I can't? I'm not connected as usual. Is he saying why?
Why?
He just did.
Why? Why do you do it? Why? Why get up? Why keep fighting? You believe you're fighting for something, for more than your survival? Can you tell me what it is? Do you even know? Is it freedom or truth? Perhaps peace? Could it be for love? Illusions, Mr. Anderson, vagaries of perception. Temporary constructs of a feeble human intellect trying desperately to justify an existence that is without meaning or purpose. And all of them is artificial.
Did it get
as the
blocked?
Matrix itself. Although only a human mind could invent something as insipid as love. You must be able to see it, Mr. Anderson. You must know it by now. You can't win. It's pointless to keep fighting. Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist?
Because I choose to.
Oh, that's right.
Oh! Ah! 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 See?
Because I choose to.
This ode to human autonomy. Because I choose to.
Yep.
It's not because of love. It's I choose to. My point is that the Matrix was a glorification of the human will and the human spirit, particularly in our ability to exercise our autonomy outside of the dictates of the architect. That's the entire point of the movie. And so this guy's coming from it from another angle, which is to say, and nobody will ever be able to convince me that Neo is not the Antichrist, because he is. But what was fascinating about that was, let's say that I'm right and Nero is the Antichrist. Look how easy it is to cheer for the bad guy.
I know.
Right? Like, it's not that difficult. People are like, now look, I don't believe that there's going to be an Antichrist in the way that most Christians think there will be an Antichrist. But when people say, "Oh, no person would ever follow one guy," I'm like, it's so easy. We're so easily manipulated. It just depends on who's telling the story. That's all. Your perception of who the good guy is and who the bad guy is, a lot of the times, all of it has to do with who's telling the story. That's why we're in such a horrible situation with our media today, because nobody ever just gives you raw facts. They're telling a narrative around the facts, and they're telling you what those facts mean, which is, by the way, the same thing the Bible does, right? Let's say that Jesus rose from the dead. All that we know is that he rose from the dead. You need the Bible to tell you what the resurrection means and what it means for you on a Sunday night. So there's data, but because of the way that we're constructed and our minds work, the data has to function within a story. None of us likes data just by itself. It's got to be in the context of something, which is why the Bible is mostly story. And then there's the theological kind of underpinnings that interpret to you the transcendental significance of the story. So these people's perception of God is that God is
Like a dictator?
Is a dictator, specifically because he limits their perceived autonomy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. He's saying that God is bad and that we need to be free from him, because right here he says they would establish free will as an absolute to deny the cruelty of oppression, which of course will secure the cruelty of oppression.
Well, how? What do you mean?
If you make a person's autonomy the absolute, then you have just secured oppression for those people. Why? Very simple. Because in every society, there's always going to be a gradation of strength and weakness, whether you're talking about economic strength or physical strength or whatever. So please tell me, dear listener, if a person's free will is absolute, what do you think is going to happen to a woman like Sori in a crowd full of men if free will is absolute? Or what if there's a crowd full of people who hurt children? What will happen to that beautiful little 5-year-old girl if free will is absolute? See,
well, I think they kind of put it in that movie.
These are things that people don't think through. I'm actually surprised that people with that degree of brilliance, this band, could say something that ridiculous. Nobody wants absolute free will. The only people that live a life that's consistent with absolute autonomy are people that are in prison, dead, or in your history book as a horrible dictator.
Or in that movie. What was that movie where for a night everything was haram, you could do whatever you wanted?
The Purge.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good one. Hey, if you want to live in a society where you have absolute free will and nobody impedes your free will and nobody oppresses you, go watch The Purge.
That looks fun, right?
And then tell yourself you'd like to live in that situation. Men taking the will against a person goes against the idea of free will. No, Mark. No, it doesn't, because he gets to make a choice. So how would you stop that guy from exercising his free will? Because what you're saying is, when his free will and her free will come into cross purposes, we should honor her free will above his. And that's because you believe in bodily autonomy, because you don't believe in sexually assaulting women. But what is the algorithm in this world? If free will is absolute, then all that's going to happen is two people are going to come into cross purposes, and the stronger one is going to be able to impose their free will on the other one. So when you have a world that has a bunch of freedom, but there's no constraints for it, you don't get freedom, you get oppression, because it's always going to default to survival of the fittest and the strong oppressing the weak. If you open those floodgates, then that's what happens. Actually, the fact of the matter is restrictions actually are the only way to secure freedom. Laws
So interesting.
in our current seats in Laban are the only ways to secure freedom. It's also the only way to secure entertainment. When you watch football, there's a lot of rules. And they're in a very, I mean, I don't know how many billion, the Nation of Islam guys know how many billion square feet the earth is. They only get 100 yards to operate within. And then within those 100 yards, there's lines. Football is a game of inches. It's also, football is one of the most heavily regulated and coached and analyzed games in the history of human beings. And it is also the most watched kind of sport in the history of human beings. And that's because of, yes, it's fun and it's great to see Tom Brady, but it's laden with rules. And if there were no rules, it would not be fun.
It's so true. You're so right.
If Michael Jordan could carry the ball 19 steps before he dribbled the ball, it wouldn't be fun. Actually, in order to secure freedom and novelty and entertainment, you need rules and structures to live within, and there has to be a give and take. This idea that we can function with complete autonomy in a universe and survive for a day doesn't take into account human history. You don't even need the Bible to know that would go really bad.
Yeah.
That would go really, really bad.
Yep.
That would go really, really bad. So we ourselves as free will persons or a dictator God. Well, again, DOC, when you say dictator, you're making a category error, because when you say dictator, you're talking about other human beings who then try to exercise a certain degree of authority over their fellow human beings that is inappropriate. The reason that a dictator on the human level is inappropriate is because you and I are on the same level. I don't have the right to put myself above you and then impose my will onto you, because I'm a creature just like you. You and I are image bearers of God, so we're supposed to look each other in the eye. But you and I are not equivalent to God himself. So to say that God is a dictator, it's just a category error. You have to acknowledge the fact that we're dealing with something completely and totally ontologically separate from us. And there is no comparison for God and his rule. But my point is, this is one of my issues, I think, with anarchism, in the sense as I currently understand it. Let me say it this way. As I currently understand anarchism, I don't think that it's ever going to be possible, because it is a naive understanding of human nature. All that's going to happen is that the strong are going to... here's a perfect example. Look at social media. Social media was one of those forums where people said, hey, you can go off, you do anything you want. You can say anything you want. Hey, man, it's free speech, blah, 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 blah. And look what's happened. Then you had those fools over there at, what's that place? The crazy people. The people that did the riots. They set up Parler. Right? Now, I was on Parler.
Yeah.
I'm saying the people who set it up are
It's
crazy.
so funny. I was thinking about Parler.
These people had child molesters, sex criminals, all types of shit posting on there because they were a free speech environment. So what happened is Twitter, Facebook, all these people said, holy shit. Now, initially, YouTube was doing the hey, will you post whatever you want up here, and then a couple of years ago, one of these fools went to, one of these suicide forests over there in Japan or China or whatever and filmed somebody hanging from a tree. Well, hey, man, autonomy, freedom. Ridiculous. Like that's not.
Yeah.
Again, I don't even care. Like, get God out of it. I'm just saying, rules. And again, we talked about this yesterday. There's a conflict in our minds between the left and the right brain. One side of us wants consistency, and we want to know what to expect. The other side wants novelty, and we want to explore. And so the best systems are the systems that are able to combine both of those in a harmonious fashion. So there's enough novelty in football because violence is societally looked upon as bad and punishable. That means you don't see it in your everyday life. So what is football? Football is a highly regulated sport that features violence that you're able to partake in and then watch and enjoy.
Yeah.
And so the best systems, whether they're sports, whether it's government, whether it's religion, have found a way to harmonize left and right brains, conservatism and liberalism, rules and freedom, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that people need to work on is you have to define what freedom means. Does freedom mean I can do whatever I want?
Does it mean independence? Or...
Well, that I can do whatever I want. That doesn't work, because if a person gets addicted to a chemical, there is a sense in which they want to do that drug, otherwise they wouldn't do it. But there's another sense in which they can't not do it.
Right.
So freedom cannot be I do whatever I want. For me, the conclusion I've come to about what freedom is and what autonomy is freedom is me being able to live to the fullest reason for why I'm here. So in other words, freedom for an eagle is flying, it's not swimming. For a dolphin, it's swimming and it's not flying. And you can say, oh, God oppressed that poor dolphin because he didn't give him wings. And the dolphin's like, man, I don't care about that shit.
Yeah.
Do you realize the world that's in this ocean? And the eagle is not going to go, oh, that poor oppressed dolphin, he can't fly. You see what I'm saying? And so freedom is being able to live the way that God created you to live, and to be able to live out your purpose without hindrance. That's what freedom is. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is the ability to love and receive love perfectly without any hindrances. That's ultimate freedom. And that has a bunch of implications. Iron Midi says, thank you, Sori and Vin. Sorry, that's not very much, but I spent hours on your channel recently, and as a non-believer, I appreciate your respect. I disagree on many points, but it's a pleasure to see you. Same to you, bro. Although,
and thank you for the super chat.
I'm not sure what we disagree on, but yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah, I think democracy has the same problems, and we'll talk about that in a second, Mark. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can talk about that one.
Well, I've been talking a lot, so go ahead, take your shot. Shoot your shot.
Well, I thought that the ending of the song was crazy for a number of reasons, but okay, so they say, those opposed to the false god. Are you listening?
Yeah, I'm listening.
We will build a council, a democracy, a nation of great magnitude. This is our, what do you say, apogee?
Yeah.
A child to usher in this fate, to raise our impious war against the monarchy of God. What does this remind you of? We will climb so high, we will spread our hands and touch 10 million other worlds and sing our sermon, we the silver-tongued. Does that remind you of anything in the Bible? The Tower of Babel?
Oh, yeah.
They're wanting to go up. Well,
he did say we'll build a city.
We'll build a council, a nation.
In the earlier songs, he did say we're going to build a city. I think he said it in the first song, actually.
So,
Yeah, it definitely had the
say what you will, but I think that was crazy. Like, the mindset that has been through this entire album.
Yeah.
Flipping everything.
Yeah.
And then you have this point where...
Right there, we will build a tower, a concentric city.
Right.
Which is literally the Babel will build a tower in a city.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with the story of the Tower of Babel, when they said that that's what they were going to do, then God confused their languages and dispersed them, because they were never supposed to do that. We were supposed to fill the earth, and subdue it and be fruitful and multiply in the earth. We were never supposed to clamor together and just build some tower to try to reach up to God. And
the tower was also a temple.
Of worship. Yeah. I just thought it was crazy because that's what it sounds like. That's the last song. That's the last lyrical content. And then the band broke up.
Wow. Figures you would find that you always find those things. Yeah. It's very hard. It's really, really hard not to take that low-hanging fruit. God fucked up your band because you guys are just too powerful with that shit.
No, I think it's just, they were doing very well with the next and the next and the next album, and here it is. Yeah. And again, this is... What, babe, you disagree?
This is the Western ethnocentrism, right? Like, democracy. It's this idea that democracy is a superior form of government. Ridiculous. I think that's such a ridiculous idea.
That democracy what? Say it again.
The democracy is like a superior form of government.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me get this straight. What would if you went down to the South during the time of slavery and you said, okay, what should we do with these Negroes?
What do you think the majority is going to say? What happens when the majority decides on an unjust action?
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
Yeah.
See, the problem that we're running into is that when people talk about politics or political parties, all we're talking about is how human beings relate to each other on a macro level in a certain region on the earth. That's all politics is. And so you have to have a understanding of what the terms justice that are used, freedom. You have to define all those terms. And then what you have to do is you have to create a government that promotes the positive traits that you want to promote and discourages the negative traits. Mm-hmm. But democracy does not always accomplish that goal. Mm-hmm. And there have been a lot of times when democracy has worked in the other direction. One person said democracy is just simply mob rule, and we've got things in place like, protected classes and things like that kind of supersede democracy. Mm-hmm. Integration was basically an FU to democracy.
Wow.
If we followed democracy to a T, there'd have been no civil war, and I'd have been dead because I wouldn't have been a slave. Because I was never taught I was a slave.
He's a seed of Akhenaten.
So like, to me, it's the worldview here is just a little bit too simplistic to me. Mm-hmm. It's like, God's mean, let's have a democracy. Okay, well, what if your democracy is populated by people who are bad people?
Right.
Then what? Form of government is separate from morality. It's simply how things are carried out. Democracy is made up of immoral people. It will be an immoral government. I agree. I disagree that you can separate government from morality. I disagree with that. Because government's ultimate claim to power is that they hold the keys to morality. That's the entire point. That's why these people have a license to kill and all the rest of it. So you can't say that government is separate from morality. What is a law? A law is simply a moral principle codified with threats.
Right.
That's all a law is a set of moral is when a group of people say these are the morals that we hold to, and if you don't hold to them, we're going to punish you. We'll kill you. That's what a law is. Say no, they're not going to kill you. They're going to throw you in jail. Well, what if you resist going to prison? See what I'm saying? And some of us don't even have to resist without getting killed by these people.
Facts.
The idea of respecting each other's liberty is what's key. Mark, I understand. Here's the problem. The concept that you have to respect another man's autonomy is a Christian idea. I have to respect you because you're an image bearer of God. I have nothing above you. You and I are completely equivalent. And God tells me I have to respect you and honor you. But if there's no God that tells me I have to respect you and honor you, why do I have to respect you and honor you? Especially if I'm stronger than you. If I'm stronger than you economically and socially, why do I need to respect and honor you? On what basis? What will I be? How will you motivate me to respect and honor my fellow man? Because in this universe, the only thing that's absolute is autonomy. I mean, they didn't even make morality the absolute. Right. Now, I know what they're assuming. What they're assuming is we'll keep the same people that have the same sort of Christianized worldview on respecting other people and respecting people's body and not killing people and not using people. They'll have that same mindset. We'll just take God out of it so that we won't have any authority over us. But everybody's going to still respond in that way. That's not how it works. And we know that that's not how it works. Otherwise, we wouldn't have movies like The Purge. Has there even been a counter narrative? Has there been a movie that's come out where the laws are allowed to be broken for a night and nobody dies? Has anybody ever watched that movie and said, "Nah, bro, that's not what would happen in my neighborhood"?
Nobody would even watch it.
But has anybody watched The Purge? Why do they keep making like 19 Purge movies? They just made another one recently.
They did.
Rest in peace to the homie. These kids, the kid's a TikTok star, literally a TikTok star. They went to see The Purge, and some random dude went and killed both of them, him and his girlfriend or something. Rest in peace.
Oh my god.
19-year-old kid, fucking horrible, horrible, horrible. It's not a Christian exclusive idea. Societies that believed in the concept existed without Christianity. Some native tribes had this as a part of their culture. Yeah, I know. I'm not talking about that, though. I'm talking about this culture. And the culture that you're swimming in right now with the assumptions that you have, and I have the same assumptions. The assumptions that you have are because the Western world has been completely influenced by Christianity. That's not debatable. That doesn't prove Christianity. All I'm saying is you have a real difficulty in creating a completely anarchist state or a law or a country where autonomy is the only absolute without morality. And what I'm saying is the only way that can work is if you suspended the evil that's within human nature, which, by the way, I believe is going to happen. That's what we call heaven. All heaven is a society of people that don't have a sinful nature. And so the scripture says the law is for the lawless. I don't believe that laws are a good thing. I think it's terrible that we have to be threatened with death in order to do the right thing. That's horrible. But the reason we have to be threatened with death to do the right thing is because we're sinful people. So if we could, the real issue is not what form of government. The real issue is, can we remove that root of selfishness within human beings? And then what does the world look like if that element was removed? Because I don't give a damn what you call the governmental system. We have a quote unquote democracy. And yet none of us believes that the person that's in office is the person that we wanted. That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's true.
I'm not even certain. And Mark, when you get on, we can kind of bat around. I'm not even certain that democracy can exist in a capitalist environment, because the people with the money are always going to be able to, and that's why all the politicians.
You're probably right. I don't see how it can either.
Yeah, I don't even think. I got that from Umar Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not sure that you can actually have a legitimate democracy in a capitalist environment.
I mean,
I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it's very, 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 very hard. Slavery was justified in the South, referring to Christianity. Mark, who were the main people that were fighting to abolish slavery in the Western world? It wasn't the atheist club, right? Slavery is the majority report for all humanity, including now. And I'm not talking about like, oh, we had slavery in our history. We have slaves right now working and building our Nikes. And Apple has slave. We all know this stuff. Like, we've never had a time in this country where we haven't had slave labor. So slavery is the majority report. What is an anomaly in history is people who benefit from slavery actively fighting against it to the point where they kill over 300,000 of their own countrymen. That has never happened before in human. Get me the report of the ruling class or the ruling strata of people picking up arms to fight. What explains that anomaly? Only Christianity has that anomaly. Go research Islamic history. You'll see. There was no time when the Muslims said, "Wait a second, we need to kill a bunch of other Muslims because they're enslaving their dhimmis."
Yeah.
So slavery is the majority report for all human history. What is the anomaly is people who benefit from slavery actively picking up arms.
That's
and
interesting.
killing
Yeah,
other people.
you're right. Yeah.
To ensure the freedom of slaves. That's an anomaly. And so when you can show me a non-Christian nation that did that, then great. Then great. You can do that. So yeah, I just think that, and the other thing, Mark, is that one of the things that the preachers were saying was, I know the Bible says that all men are created equal, but the scientists tell us that there's a big difference between black people and white people. That's just a fact. So the scientists were saying these Negroes are not fully human, right? So look, my point is, I love the album. I love the record. Oh. I think that their concepts are not as nuanced as I would like a band with this degree of intellect to be. Simultaneously, though, metal is about what you feel. It's about the emotion. It's about letting that shit go. It's not necessarily about a doctoral thesis on the ramifications of theology and practice in the Western world in the last 2,000 years with misogyny and blah, 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 blah. It's not that. That's not what they're trying to do.
Right.
So on the one hand, I'm complaining, like, can you be a little bit more nuanced? I mean, this is so simple. But on the other hand, it's like, well, this is metal, and they're trying to reach thousands. They've got thousands of fans, and they've got people who it's like what, you know. I'm going to take what Mark says. I mean, I don't see how he could be lying when he says the stuff about Eve. He's like, yo, this is the first time I heard this. I heard Eve get blamed the entire time. Well, I can't say he's lying. So my point is, when I'm looking at this stuff, I'm like, there's the you know, left brain, right brain part of me that's like, yo, there's a hole here. There's so many holes. And then, but there's another side of me that's like, yeah, man, but do you think that when these people, when kids and when other people are listening to this record and they're looking at these lyrics, they're like, oh yeah, that's what happened in 1865. That's what's going on. Damn, you know, Rosicrucians. Damn it. They're not thinking that, bro. They're thinking, yeah, man, that's fucked up. They treated my girlfriend horrible at church. That's what they're thinking. And what I'm saying is that's valid. Like, I'm moving away from this whole, like, if you don't have a logical construction for everything, then it's, you know, not valid. Like, and that's a very dangerous thing to do. But, you know, you've got. I'm trying to be consistent with my whole adage of you've got to balance out your left brain and your right brain. So what that means is, if you're more of a left brain oriented person and you're more facts and logic and argumentation, you're going to be weak on the emotional stuff, and you're going to miss a lot of really good information. Because I had no idea until today that was like a real thing where people were really blaming Eve for the fall of humanity. I thought that was just jokes that we laughed about, but that everybody understood what the Bible actually said. I learned something today. I said, holy shit, are you kidding me? So if you only look at criticisms of your religion or your worldview only from an intellectual standpoint, then
you're going to miss stuff. Yeah.
You're going to miss what that other person is saying. But it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to outsmart the person and beat them, then congratulations. If your if your goal is to know the person, then that's a completely different ball of wax.
Right.
So if a person gives you the honor of being emotional and irrational, but telling you this is how I feel and this is where I'm at with it, you'd be silly to ignore that. Right? And so that's part of my, you know, outworking of this record is that I'm saying to myself, when I look at the thing as a whole, these guys must have gone through the ringer with religion, and the particular God that they're looking at overthrowing or whatever is not the God that I know and love. So for example, he talks about democracy. What's amazing is that even though God is the supreme, omnipotent, omniscient ruler, he's the most high, God functions in a divine council. And there are times when he says, okay, guys, what are we going to do here? And so, again, it's not a democracy because people are coming to him and he's unilaterally saying, no, yep, let's do that one. Like, there's examples in the Bible where that happens, where God's sitting there and he's got his counsel, he's got his advisors, whatever you want to call them. And he says, all right, this guy, he's a really evil guy and I want to kill him. So how are we going to kill this guy? And then they come around and they present ideas. And then God goes, I like that one. Go do it. Like, these are the things where I'm like, man, if you just pay attention, like, look closer. God doesn't have to work that way, but it's not. It's not the way that you think it is, because God loves relationship. People are like, why does he have a divine council? Why does he have a council? And look what he names the members of the council: B'nai Elohim, sons of God. That's what he names them. And so God, being a father by nature, when he sets up a council, it's not like the council of divine beings. It's not like the bureaucratic department of heavenly affairs. It's not the department of heavenly services. It's, these are my sons. I'm a dad. I'm Big Daddy with a capital D. I'm the king with a capital K. And I got a bunch of sons, and we're going to go rule the universe together. Well, do you need them? No, I don't need them.
But I want them.
But I want them. Okay, like, And it's so weird for me to like, because that's a God I know,
Yeah.
and that's a God that's been with me my entire life. It's strange. It's. I think you were like actually one of the first ones that like opened my eyes to this. Like, people would say things about the Old Testament God. I used to be so confused. I'm like, what are they talking about? The Old Testament God is just like, that's the God I grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was small when I was younger. I wasn't really a fan of Jesus because I felt like Jesus was soft.
He wouldn't got himself
He's
crucified.
telling people to turn the other cheek and shit, and like that's just not, you know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm about. That's not what I'm about. So, but anyway, go ahead.
I was always a fan of Jesus.
I don't want to do like a 19-hour review on
not a
this
fan
thing,
of
Mark.
the Old Testament God.
Yeah, you were not a fan of the Old Testament God, right?
Because I felt like he was hard, he was mean, he was just killing people, and then Jesus came along, and then Jesus was like, "Yo, chill, I'll just die for them. This'll end it."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then Vin told me he was the death angel.
The destroyer. That's the one where David numbered the men and Jesus was hanging over Jerusalem with a sword drawn, and God the Father had to say, "Yo, Jesus, chill. Don't kill him."
What? I'm pretty sure you must have a bad translation there, Vin.
Yeah. I just think that, you know, ultimately when it comes
I was completely wrong, though. The God of the Old Testament, when you really start looking into things, is completely different. And it is funny, like, I had a friend who was going through a very difficult time. Matter of fact, it was really bad. Really, really bad. And whenever she read the Bible, all she saw was just hate. And then she got to a better spot, and those demons that were, you know, really afflicting her were gone. And she said she didn't even understand how when she read it, it was not at all like she saw it was before. So I've told Vin before, I think he should do like a little series on the Old Testament God, because a lot of people don't see it like that.
We did one of those in the Bible Boogie. We did Old Testament violence in the Bible Boogie.
Yeah, I mean, just like there would be a thing that was on Metal Jesus, so it'd be like a 5-minute clip on something that Jesus says that's super metal, and then there would also be like, you know, like crazy moments where it looks, if you just glanced at it, it looks like God is like horrible, but then there's an explanation.
Yeah, just when I was a kid reading that passage, I was just like you're judging God. I never how could you think?
Well, I never thought Jesus was a punk, so how then?
You know what?
How?
That's a good point. That's a good point. But you don't see how I could think that Jesus was soft?
No, I never saw Jesus as soft.
Turn the other cheek? Well, I mean,
yeah, no, because I knew.
What dudes were you around though?
No. I was looking at
the
this
dudes
from
that you were around would have turned the other cheek because they were soft.
Yeah, but that's not what I saw from Jesus. I felt like Jesus could handle his business, and he knew what he was doing, and that was a decision that he was making. I didn't think it was a soft decision, and it was like this. It was like this.
Allowing himself to get crucified.
Let me talk.
Allowing himself to get crucified. I'm with you.
When he's on the earth and all this stuff is going on, like I was looking at my what?
You didn't understand my problem. My problem wasn't that he allowed himself to get crucified. I mean, I understood why he had to do that. My problem was him telling me to turn the other cheek. That was my problem. I understand why he has to do it, because he's Jesus. He's going to save the world or whatever. But me getting smacked is not going to save the world. At least that's what I thought at the time. So I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. Niggas put their hands on me, bro. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, I felt like, not that I thought that Jesus was soft, but I felt like he was telling me to be soft. And where I was living, if you displayed any sort of weakness, they'd eat you alive.
Well, that's where the difference in upbringing comes, and location.
They'd eat you alive where I was from.
Because from my perspective, I was always a very strong person, and so, not that anybody slapped me in the face, but I'm saying, like, if I had to deal with some conflict or whatever, like if I just said, okay, you know what, I'm just going to back down off this one. I don't have to. I could argue this one, but I'm not. I'm just going to let it go. So I can see how, from your perspective, that would be seen as different, because, yeah, well, the environment was different.
It's a matter of survival for us.
Right, exactly.
Like, fighting back is not, like, and I can never explain it to people up here because they just couldn't understand it. Like, fighting back was not a vengeance thing. A lot of times it was just a defense mechanism. If I do not fight this guy, then I'm going to get harassed all fucking year.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
yeah,
for
I know. I mean, I still have a dilemma with that.
But again, a lot of this shit is regional, though. So, for example, you came up in Maine. The dudes that you were around did not have an affinity for violence. Let me say it that way, right? Mm-hmm. And you were not exposed to a lot of violence. So if somebody did something bad to you, they said something about they said your shirt looked ugly, or they said you looked fat, or something like that. So turning the other cheek was not returning an insult. Mm-hmm. Where I'm from, people are getting shot.
Yeah.
So
I obviously don't have anything close to that experience.
But that's the thing. Like, people don't understand how their experiences go into interpreting what they're seeing, and they think that their interpretation of what they're seeing is universal. So, like, for example, I was dead wrong as a kid, thinking that Jesus was telling me to be a punk. I know that now. You know what I'm saying? But at the time I didn't. But people don't consider, well, maybe the supposed genocide in the Old Testament, maybe those people came from a world that I'm completely unfamiliar with. Maybe the way that those people used language was in ways that people aren't familiar with. Maybe there were people around before Aristotle who then communicated words in a different way and used conjunctions and logic, etc. There's a whole other motherboard that these people are using, and that doesn't get considered. So they just see something, oh, that's crazy, and they don't. There's no, and there's no question like, oh, here we're told that all the Gibeonites need to be executed, and then here we're told later on that Yahweh destroyed the Israelites for 3 fucking years with a famine because they were bad to the Gibeonites. How do we reconcile? There's none of that discussion. It's just, oh, kill the Gibeonites. Oh, that's bad. And there's no, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that, now, a lot of times when someone grows up without a father, I think that they a lot of times express that makes it more difficult for them to understand God, because it feels like, okay, so God's calling himself a father, my father wasn't here, blah, 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 blah.
Also true.
But you didn't have that experience with it. You saw the scriptures, and in it you saw the fatherliness of him in the Old Testament. For me, my father was always there, but there was all hella rules. And so it was rules, and I always felt like, now I'm not saying that this is what my parents were doing, but from a kid's perspective, I felt like the rules were only set there just so I could fail, so that I could be punished. It didn't feel like some of the stuff just felt like, why?
Wow. Okay.
Like, what does it matter? You know, like, for instance, and this is just some silly example, but my father always wanted the rooms clean. Now, my father built houses for a living, and so randomly he could bring somebody in to take a tour of our house to see what type of work that he did. So our house always had to look top notch. Well, I didn't want to keep my room clean, and I didn't enjoy doing that and taking the time to do that. So I concocted a plan. I took my bureau, and I don't know if you guys know the phrase kitty corner. It's where you take the corner of the room, like let's say this is the corner, and you put the bureau right here. So there's like this little triangle gap behind the bureau. And so then that's like a dresser. I would just throw all my shit behind there. And so my room looked immaculate, but it wasn't, because it was all hidden behind there. But in my thought process, I'm like, well, that clears my dad if he tours the house. And it satisfies me because I don't want to be picked up. So everybody can be happy here. But then he went in there and he found it, and then he yelled at me and I got in trouble, and he said he knew that I was doing some shit because he saw that I had rearranged my room, and he knew that I wasn't a rearranger, and so then he went exploring, and then he found all my stuff, and so it just kind of felt like,
which then colors your interpretation of God.
Right. So you're setting it up, you're seeking it out, like, why couldn't that have been enough? So then when I read the Bible, I'm like, holy shit, law, and then you came along and said, well, the law was put there because men's hearts were so evil. And it wasn't that God was like, this is exactly how I want to run my world. It was, okay, there has to be some sin management, and that's why the law came about. So there is some stuff that God allowed by the law, but that was not his intention. That's not how he originally wanted it. So that's not the best plan. It's just, sometimes sometimes the kids will be fighting, and sometimes, like, I'll sit down, I'll work the whole thing out, and sometimes I don't have time for that, and I say, just don't even talk to each other. You go over there, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just separate them. And I don't even know where I was going with that. I looked at you and I got distracted.
Well, remember we read the Bible boogies, and Tina would always say that one thing that was like,
yes,
look at what she just wrote here.
If God turned the other cheek
Now listen,
first.
if Tina would have been around when I was an 11-year-old kid reading that turn the other cheek shit, then
yeah,
a lot of things would have been a lot different for a lot of people. Read that passage right there.
If God, passage, he called it a passage. if God turned the other cheek first, then he has the right, I guess, to have his justice response be that we must turn the other cheek first.
Right. So God
did
turned
it.
the other cheek through Jesus.
Yeah.
So it's just for him to demand that of us. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that Jesus didn't say turn the other cheek and the person is never going to have to face any judgment. Mm-hmm. All he's saying is you don't be the instrument of judgment. But here's
vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Here's a divine counsel. Here's a divine counsel passage. It's one of my favorite ones. So it's these kings. They're going to war in Ramoth Gilead, and there's these two kings, and the king goes, well, shouldn't we ask a prophet first? Because that's how they did it. Hey, how are we going to do good? And he goes, well, I got all these prophets, and all these prophets are telling me that things are going well. So let's go do jihad. And the king's like, well, I don't know, man. Like, if everybody's saying it's a good thing, that's usually a bad. It's like, is there any other prophets here? So the king goes, well, yeah, there's this other guy named Micaiah, but Micaiah always says bad shit about me, so let's not talk to him. So the other guy's like, nah, dude, fuck that. I want to hear what this guy has to say, right? That's the Vin translation. So then they go to Micaiah, and they say, as the Lord lives, what the Lord says to me, I will speak. And when he had come to the king said to him, Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we refrain? And he answered him, go up in triumph, the Lord will give it into the hand of the king. But he must have said it in a way that was very, very sarcastic, because look at the next verse. But the king said to him, how many times shall I make you swear that you speak to me nothing but the truth in the name of the Lord? And he said, I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. And the Lord says, these have no master. Let each return to his home in peace. And the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, did I not tell you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but only evil? He's like, I told you that this guy is always going to say bad shit about me. Right? So when he says, I saw Israel as sheep without a shepherd, that means that he would be dead then because he was the leader. Mm-hmm. So he says, everybody else go home in peace. So Micaiah just basically said, you're going to die today, bro. Mm-hmm. So the king was like, man, fuck this guy, bro. He's always talking shit. Right? So, and Micaiah said, therefore, hear the word of the Lord. Now, check this out. This is really, really funny. Look at Daniel. Was sarcasm invented that long ago? He's so cute. He really thinks that these people were just like in a cave somewhere. Aww. He has no idea. So look, hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne and the host of heaven standing beside him on the right and on the left. And the Lord said, who will entice Ahab that he may go and fall at Ramoth Gilead? Oh, so he's sitting down.
Yep.
He's holding court. There's people on the left and the right. And he's like, all right. I want to kill this dude. How are we going to do it? It's unbelievable. And one said one thing and another said another. Then a spirit came forward and stood before the Lord saying, I will entice him. And the Lord said to him, okay, by what means? How are you going to do it? He said, I will go out and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. Mm-hmm. And he says, you are to entice him and you shall succeed. Go out and do so. Now, therefore, behold, Yahweh has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all your prophets. The Lord has declared disaster for you. So that's an example where God is in a council and he takes counsel and he goes, all right, guys, this is what I want to do. How are we going to do it? Mm-hmm. And people have their ideas and he goes, that's the best idea. That's what we'll go with. So the point is, they're talking about democracy if God is like this autocratic, horrible leader. And God could, and in my mind, should be autocratic because he's God. But even God refuses to do that. He still wants to function within a some sort of collaborative sort of, I'm not going to say democratic because it's not democratic. I mean, it's his rule. What he says goes.
I think he likes it. I think he just likes that, you know, because you're right. He could just set the whole thing up and just call the shots. But I think he likes and that goes to conversation too. Like, you know, he loves to hear a prayer. Yeah. Us talking to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he could just go in there and tell them this is what the plan is, but instead he has a conversation with them.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was so ironic that they were talking about democracy and all these things about God and things like that. And I'm like, man, these guys, like, man, I wish they would read a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I understand where they're coming from. I really, really do.
All right, so what do you give this song before we
I give the song
a
9.7. It was a really, 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 really cool way to. It's not that I haven't heard it before, but the depth to which they went in stuff, the lyrical content, you know, we're pushing on 5 hours here, and I feel terrible for Mark. But overall, I'm gonna rank my. I'm gonna do the.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
I
do
said
my overall. So for this particular song, I'll give it a 9.7.
Okay, I gave 9.7.
9.7 for this one.
Oh, okay. Mine was a 9.8 on this one. This is the first one we disagreed on. With our score wasn't exactly the same. So 9.8 for me on this one. And then are we just doing the album review on this one? Do we Vin out, Sori out, or are we?
Yeah, let's Vin out and then well, no.
I think just bring him on for the ending.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope he's still here. I mean, it's been 5 hours. He might have been like, man, fuck these people.
No, he said that he was fine.
All
Okay,
right.
Mark, we're going to bring you on for our final thoughts of the album.
Yeah, Mark, do me a favor. Here's the link. Amy Lee is hilarious. So is a God a concept of the earth? If we travel to Mars, will we have to accept their God? No, you won't have to accept their God because there's only one God, inshallah. So the same God that created the earth is the same God that created Mars.
Mars?
But look, this album is an undeniable album, right? Like, before I give my score for the record, like, even if you don't like the subject matter, even if you don't like post metal doom sludge or whatever, I don't care what you call it. This guy, this band,
Just incredible.
there you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sori out.
Down.